Welcome to Learn Tech Today English. Learn today, understand better, and succeed tomorrow.
Okay, imagine for a second that your computer has a corrupted file, right? And it just keeps crashing your entire operating system. You wouldn't just ignore it and hope the machine magically fixes itself. No way. You'd run a diagnostic tool, you'd do a system restore. Yet for some reason, when it comes to our minds, we fully expect our emotional corrupted files, things like grief, bad memories, or deep trauma, to just magically disappear on their own. Well, welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving deep into the Real Intelligence Toolkit. We're going to learn exactly how to upgrade our internal operating systems by bridging ancient mindfulness with modern tech concepts. It's going to be a really fascinating ride, so let's jump right in. So let's start with the ultimate futuristic anxiety. As technology is just rapidly, wildly advancing, a lot of us look at the incredible capabilities of machines, and we can't help but wonder, is artificial intelligence eventually going to make human capability completely obsolete? Are we going to be replaced? It's a heavy question. And to really answer it, we actually need to look at an incredible encounter with a machine. Picture this. It's 2019 at a massive tech conference in Singapore. The audience is totally on edge about this exact topic. But the guest speaker on stage isn't a human. It's Sophia, a highly advanced humanoid robot. And when someone in the crowd asked her if robots would replace humans in the future, the whole room just went dead silent. But Sophia totally nailed it. She scanned the room and calmly replied, "Artificial intelligence was created to complement real intelligence, not to replace it." And literally, the entire room erupted into a standing ovation. Now, while Sophia's response was, incredibly eloquent, we have to remember something crucial. It was a static, pre-programmed response. She doesn't have true sentience. Humans, on the flip side, possess what we call real intelligence. We're dynamic. We have this messy biological processing, and we possess a totally unique mental metabolism. We aren't just robots experiencing programmed inputs. We are sentient beings who feel a massive, complex spectrum of emotions. And to master our output, we really have to understand our hardware. That brings us to Section 1, Hardware Resilience, or what I call the mental Titanic. To truly understand how our mental hardware handles immense stress, we have to look back at the RMS Titanic. We all know the tragic story of its sinking in 1912 after hitting an iceberg, right? But material scientists and engineers have actually pointed out that the ship didn't sink just because of the external iceberg. It sank because of internal hardware flaws. To cut corners, the builders used weaker iron rivets in the boat's bow, instead of the much stronger steel ones they used in the middle. So when the immense pressure of that collision hit, those weak iron rivets popped, compromising the hull's integrity, and the ship snapped. The external pressure simply exposed an internal weakness. And here's why that matters to us. In life, we constantly blame the external icebergs for our mental crashes. We blame our stressful jobs, our difficult relationships, or the terrible economy. But true resilience, it doesn't come from just avoiding all the ice in the ocean. That's impossible. It comes from upgrading our internal emotional construction. We have to fortify our own iron rivets. But how exactly do we run that diagnostic? Well, let's move into Section 2, the diagnostic algorithm. We call this Feel, Deal, Heal. When our internal software has corrupted emotional files, we literally cannot just hit delete. We need a structured protocol to debug the system, and it's a simple but profoundly powerful pyramid. Feel, Deal, Heal. This is the foundational code for processing complex human emotions. You simply cannot skip straight to healing without feeling the data first. So let's break down the base level of this pyramid. Step 1 is to feel. Think of this exactly like a developer reading a precise crash log. When the computer crashes, the log doesn't just say error, it gives a very specific code. But as humans, we so often just label our feelings as sad or angry. To fix a mental bug, we have to expand our emotional data points. Ask yourself, are you angry or are you actually feeling defensive? Are you sad or are you paralyzed? Are you frustrated or disillusioned? Psychologist Dr. Susan David created a detailed grid of nuanced human emotions that perfectly illustrates this concept. By accurately identifying your emotional data through a comprehensive grid like hers, you actually dramatically increase your mental and physical well-being. It's called emotional agility, because once you finally have the precise label, you can actually apply the correct patch. Which leads us straight into the deal phase. Once we label the emotion, we rate its intensity from 1 to 10, and then we implement a targeted patch. In India, there's this brilliant concept called jugaad, which essentially means highly innovative, sometimes unconventional, makeshift problem solving. For instance, if you have a hole in your mosquito net, you don't just sit there crying about the hole, you might engineer some bizarre plastic tube contraption to confuse the mosquitoes. Dealing with our emotions requires that exact same proactive, creative troubleshooting. And finally, we reach the heal phase. Consider the famous story of a teenager with a terrible temper. His father told him, "Every time you lose your temper, go drive a nail into the wooden fence." On day 1, he drove 20 nails. By day 3, 14 nails. Eventually, he learned to control his behavior and stopped driving nails entirely. But when his dad told him to pull the old nails out, the holes remained in the wood. The lesson here? Modifying behavior takes time, and repairing the emotional scars, the holes in our fence, requires immense patience. Healing is absolutely not an instant digital download. To put this into perspective, consider the number 80%. In our physical bodies, roughly 80% of our daily energy goes simply towards keeping us alive, our basal metabolic rate. Just like our physical bodies, we all have a unique mental metabolism too. Your mind is going to process emotional data at a completely different speed than someone else's. So please, never compare your system restore timeline to another user's. It's totally unique to you. Okay, section 3, debugging the chattering mind. Now that we know the algorithm, we have to look at the absolute biggest drain on our mental battery. We all have that constant background app running, right? That internal monologue that constantly criticizes, worries, and chatters away. Well, here is the exact 3-step protocol for managing it. Step 1, neglect. Just like a toddler throwing a tantrum for attention, sometimes you just have to actively ignore the mind's destructive demands. Step 2, note it down. Keep a notepad and literally log the data your mind is yelling about. Just acknowledging it often quiets the alert. And step 3, negotiate. Tell your mind, hey, focus on this hard task right now, and we'll watch that TV show later. By managing this monologue, it actually becomes a helpful system assistant rather than a massive resource drain. But what happens when the processing load is simply too heavy? That's when we implement cloud support integration. Listen, when your system is overwhelmed by massive, heavy files like deep grief or severe depression, you cannot process all that data locally on your own. You just can't. You must offload it to your cloud network. That means your trusted friends, mentors, or a professional therapist. Seeking expert help is exactly like taking a broken device to a certified technician. It is literally the smartest thing you can do for your hardware. Let's move to section 4, identifying the core user. So who is actually operating this incredibly complex biological machine? Our identity has layers, very much like a Russian nesting doll. The outermost shell is the physical body. Inside that are our senses. Deeper still is the mind, which processes feelings and thoughts. Inside that is the ego, which is our programmed social identity. But if you strip away all those layers of hardware and software, what is actually left in the very center? What remains is the Atma, or the core self. This is the unchanging user operating the machine. Your body changes, your mind's chatter changes day to day, and your social ego changes over time. But the true you, the conscious observer taking in this information right now, remains constant. Once you realize you are the user and not the machine itself, debugging your emotional software becomes infinitely easier. Let's bring this all together with a quick system restore checklist. To future-proof your mental resilience, just remember these key takeaways. First, acknowledge your real intelligence. You are meant to feel dynamic, messy emotions. Second, fortify your internal iron rivets so you can handle those external icebergs. Third, actively run the feel, deal, heal algorithm whenever you encounter bugs. Fourth, manage and debug your background mental chatter. And finally, always remember to discover and connect with the core user inside you. Which leaves us with this final thought to ponder today. If you perfectly optimize all your digital devices but totally neglect your own mind, are you really the master of your technology, or are you just another programmed machine? You are incredibly powerful. You just need the right mental tools to clean out the bugs and let your true potential run smoothly. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly, highly encourage you to start running your own mental system restore today. Catch you next time.